We're about to jump into chapter 1 of a thriller called Without a Warrant. And the fascinating part, the source material is very clear about this. It says this chapter was, and I quote, created by AI, but the prompting is from a human.
I'm going to read chapter 1, start to finish, no interruptions, let you soak it all in the atmosphere, the characters, that building tension.
Good plan?
And after that, we'll break it all down. The poker den wasn't on any map. 3 floors below a laundromat front, past solid doors and reinforced locks, it lived like a secret kept from the world. Inside, sweat, whiskey, and desperation mixed with stacks of cash. A wrong move here could cost you everything. Detective Ethan Ryker had no business being here, and in his mind he wasn't. He'd spent months preparing and building his cover as a mid-level hustler with the right mix of grime and street cred. And now it was time to settle the score with someone who'd been playing in his backyard while he was out solving cases. He wore a sweatshirt, scuffed boots, cheap jeans, a false beard and mustache. The contacts darkened his eyes. Teeth yellowed with a half-eaten bag of Cheetos. Not even his own mother would have recognized him. But his shit-talking voice, that was all his. Always would be. Felix, the doorman with a .50 caliber handgun, rose from a bar stool just outside the door. Eyes sharp and unyielding. Everyone knew you didn't get 3 steps past him without a thorough pat-down. Ryker stepped forward. He'd gambled here on 3 other occasions. This time would be different. Felix moved to search him. But before his hand could touch him, a knife flashed in Ryker's grip. One push, one twist. Felix's eyes widened for a split second before the knife was yanked free. He collapsed sideways onto the floor, life leaving him in silence. The way was clear. Ryker pushed through the door into the smoky poker den. His mind counted the number of poker players, made note of the 2 cocktail waiters, the man behind the bar. At the head of the table, Robert Miles sat in a tailored suit, sleeves rolled up because it didn't matter. Fingers drumming on cash stacked high. Ryker walked closer and raised his pistol. This was now a pin drop event. Not a single person moved. He pulled a white pillowcase from his rear waistband and tossed it under the table. Then he wagged the gun at Robert and said, "Put all the cash in there." His voice was calm, measured. Same tone he'd always used in the interrogation room. Robert's eyebrows lowered. "Don't think for 1 minute we won't meet again." Ryker thumbed the hammer back. The metallic click was so conspicuous. "Depends on whether you're going to heaven or hell." Bang! Robert jerked against the chair, red blooming across cards. Screams erupted. Glasses shattered. People were running for cover. Bang! Second shot. Dead center. Robert slid sideways. Dress shirt designed with blood. Diamond ring catching neon one last time. Ryker swept all the cash on the table into the pillowcase, then reverse engineered his entrance. He quickly stepped over Felix's body and took the steps 4 and 5 at a time. When he reached the laundromat above, he shoved through the back exit and blended in with the darkness. Rain was hammering down, which is why he had planned it for this night. When he reached his garage, he was quick to lose the disguise. The mirror threw back his real face. Detective Ethan Ryker, 34, smartest cop on the city's force, and now the killer of his wife's boyfriend. 55 minutes later, Ryker ducked under yellow tape outside the laundromat. His leather jacket crisp, jaw sharp, face trusted by everyone. "Detective Ryker," the uniform called. "Good to see you here." "Of course it is," Ryker said. Marcus Hodge waddled up, crunching a peppermint. Short, thick. His expression was carved in stone. "This one's bad," Hodge said. "Witnesses say it was a robbery and that the guy has been here before. Boss wants it airtight." "Good thing you've got me," Ryker said, grinning. Marcus shook his head. "Not funny." They walked down the 3 flights of stairs and came upon others, making note of Felix's body and other potential evidence. Marcus and Ryker moved past the body. Inside, Robert's body was crumpled on the floor by the poker table, blood gluing a 3 of clubs to his chest. Witnesses were still in shock. Text snapped photos, uniforms scribbled notes. Ryker crouched near the body he'd left about an hour ago. 2 in the chest, Ryker said. Guy must have been pissed about something. Witnesses claim he got smart with the shooter. Something about meeting him again. A threat, I suppose. Ryker nodded. This guy had plenty of enemies. Past 3 a.m., the coroner zipped Robert into a body bag. The room had thinned when a young tech hustled over, holding an evidence bag. Inside was a small, black item. "Detectives," the tech said, "found this in a mounted device behind the bar. Looks like it was recording the room. Audio only, USB stick. We're bagging the recorder separately." Ryker froze inside, face calm. "Who knows about it?" he asked. "A couple guys on my team," the tech said. "We're logging it. Chain of custody, no mistakes." Marcus said, "If that audio doesn't have too much background noise, this case just got a lot easier." Ryker stared at Robert's body, recalling the events. Nobody had played the recording. Yet. Nobody had heard it. Yet. but he had. Every word replayed in his mind. Put all the cash in there. Depends on whether you're going to heaven or hell. His own voice rattled around in his head. The USB was now in the hands of the authorities. Authorities with morals and values. Too many people knew it existed. He couldn't just make it vanish without drawing eyes. But he would have to. Because somewhere inside that little stick was his voice pulling the trigger. That was chapter 1 of Without a Warrant, created by AI. Now that we've all heard it, let's unpack this unique origin.
It nails the mechanics, pacing, tension, reveals. Does it achieve profound thematic depth or unique authorial voice? That's less clear, especially from just one chapter.
So back to that better than 70% claim. Does this chapter make that seem credible, at least by certain metrics?
If better means hooking a reader fast, delivering genre thrills effectively, making you need to know what happens next, then yeah, I think this chapter does lend credibility to the claim. It delivers on the core promise of a great thriller opening.
The source says, created by AI, but the prompting is from a human. So, having listened to it, what does human prompted actually mean here?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Especially after hearing how smooth that chapter felt. The AI isn't just off writing on its own.
Right.
It's responding to probably a very detailed set of instructions. Themes, character sketches, plot points, all fed to it by a human. Like, write a thriller chapter, detective seeking revenge, hidden poker den, twist reveals personal motive, something like that. The AI is making new sentences, new descriptions, stuff that didn't exist before. But the intent, the big narrative choices, a detective getting revenge, that specific twist, the overall tone, that stuff comes from the human prompt.
Okay.
So is it creative? In the sense of making novel text? Yeah, probably. But is it authorial, like a human author, with, motivation, themes from lived experience? That's much, much fuzzier. It's doing this incredibly advanced pattern matching, basically.
If AI can hit this level of quality, even for just one chapter, what does that mean for writers? Aspiring ones, established ones? Is it a threat? Or is it just changing the game?
That's a huge question with big implications.
Yeah.
For new writers, yeah, it could raise the bar, or at least introduce a new kind of competition. If AI can produce technically solid genre stuff, maybe human authors need to focus even more on what AI can't do well yet.
Like what?
Like truly unique voice, deep emotional intelligence, characters that grow and change believably over 300 pages, weaving complex themes subtly through a whole novel without dropping the ball. That's still human artistry.
Right.
For established authors, it could be a powerful tool. An assistant for brainstorming, breaking writer's block, maybe drafting initial scenes like a super efficient research assistant or junior co-writer.
But the fear is...
Yeah. The fear is it devalues the craft, right? Especially commercial genre fiction. Makes it harder to make a living. But it could also push human creativity, force us to be more original, offer deeper insights, more artistry, move beyond just plot mechanics. Maybe it shifts the value towards originality and emotional depth.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's a huge limitation. AI cannot handle consistency beyond 10 to 20 pages of a story. Beyond that, AI starts hallucinating, creating plot holes, and simply fucking up with inconsistencies.
Yeah, that limitation and the blunt language points to a basic reality of how these large language models, LLMs, work right now. They have what's called a context window.
Context window.
Think of it like, well, it's often compared to short-term memory, but it's more about how much text the AI can actively pay attention to at once when generating the next bit of text. It's computationally expensive to look back really for.
Ah, okay.
So it's not just a random limitation. It's tied to the architecture and efficiency. Once information falls outside that window, the AI essentially forgets it. It's no longer seeing the earlier stuff. That's where inconsistencies creep in.
Like what kind of inconsistencies?
Well, Ryker might suddenly have red hair on page 25 when he had brown on page 5. Or a character killed off early on might reappear later. The AI isn't doing it on purpose, it's just that the earlier details have dropped out of its active processing memory. It can't maintain that consistent world model over a long stretch, leads to those hallucinations and plot holes. The anti-gatekeeper points out something pretty stark right away. A lot of authors, they're basically invisible already, selling fewer than maybe 100 copies a year. That's
right.
Not many. So all this worry about AI flooding the market kind of misses this huge existing problem of just getting seen at all. discoverability, the old ways, the gatekeepers, agents, publishers, even the big online stores, they're not really solving this for everyone, maybe even making it worse in some ways.
Yeah, that invisibility thing is key, isn't it? It sets the stage. And to really get a feel for the grind authors face now, let's talk about Audra Winters. The source uses her as an example. She's spent years building a TikTok following. Years. Managed to get, what, 6,500 pre-orders? At $20 each? That's serious hustle.
Yeah.
But even after all that, the book kind of tanked. Bad reviews hit it hard. And her discovery initially, it was purely down to this relentless day-in, day-out promotion, which, let's be honest.
Just not sustainable, not for most writers.
Exactly. So if you can't do that, you're basically stuck back at square one.
Right.
Just pouring money into ads, hoping someone notices.
Right, which is why this idea of book strut, mentioned in the source, sounds so, well, different. It tries to just rip the whole discovery problem apart. The core idea is matching ideas, not titles or authors. That's the big shift. Readers don't need to know who wrote it, what it's called, or even the genre, apparently. You just put in 3 core ideas, each one like 7 to 12 words long.
Okay, so give me an example. How would that work if I was looking for a book?
Well, the source gives a few. Like, you could type in, "A man wants revenge against his wife and her lover." Simple as that.
Or maybe, an ambitious chef risks everything to open a forbidden restaurant.
Exactly. Or something like, a scientist uncovers proof that history has been completely fabricated.
Okay, that sounds really simple, almost too simple. How does it find the right books from just that?
It apparently uses, natural language processing to understand the meaning, the concept behind your phrases. So it maps the idea semantically and finds the closest matches, even if the wording isn't exact. And the implications are pretty huge for authors. Your book gets found.
Without anyone even knowing the title beforehand.
Right. And it works across languages, formats, price points, fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter. Discovery is suddenly about what your book is really about, its essence, not your social media game or your ad budget.
So the promise here is, authors can ditch chasing followers. Stop doing TikTok dances or burning cash on ads. They just list their book, focus on the core ideas, and wait for the right readers, the ones actually interested in that specific story.
That seems to be the pitch, yeah. It puts the focus back on the creative idea itself, which is kind of refreshing, maybe, especially with all the talk about AI content. This emphasizes the human element.
What about the cost for authors? Because promo services can be expensive.
The source mentions it's designed to be author-friendly. Your first listing is free, apparently, and subscriptions are described as dirt cheap compared to other options. Plus, and this is interesting, the price you sign up at, it's locked in for life. So even if prices go up later, early adopters are protected.